How about this?
Here we are.
This is weird. If you're listening to this, you have no idea what we're talking about. If you're watching on YouTube, you get it.
It's been 521 days since we've done a podcast in the office.
Is that right? Did you count?
Just while we were sitting here, I was like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it's. I think it was March 9th. It was the last day of the last Flyers game of 2020. It was the last time we were in here.
Yeah. This is cool. So this is an in-person podcast. We just walked across the street from the Link, the Eagles preseason game. They lost the game, but that doesn't really matter. We saw a lot of good, and we're going to get into some of the good, some of the bad. Stock up, stock down. Nick Sirianni's first game. How'd he do? Jalen Hurts' first game in his system. And we're going to do all that, and we're going to look at each other while we do it, which is kind of weird. It's bizarre.
I'm going to look up there.
Okay, that's better. I actually appreciate that more. Let's start, though, with Nick Sirianni. His overall impressions I agreed with. He thought it was very crisp. I thought the offense and defense, the first teams we're talking about, looked good.
And the second teams, really.
And the second teams. You're right. Yeah. The threes, not so much, but not that it doesn't matter, but you care more about the ones and twos. And I thought, you kind of want – they've been practicing an hour and 15 minutes at a time, and you wonder, like, are they ready, not just physically, but a mental standpoint. Like, are they really ready to play a game? And they were. I mean, everything was crisp and clean. There weren't a ton of penalties. They didn't seem like they had communication issues. I was impressed.
Yeah, they looked like a football team, and they did not look like a football team coached by a rookie coach. I thought really for the first half, for most of the first half, they looked prepared. They looked disciplined. They looked like they'd played together. They didn't look like they were in a new system. There was an efficiency there. There was a cleanness there. Use the word crispness. It was all there. It was, I think, a little validation for his philosophy of short, practices, efficient practices, but not a lot of hitting, not a lot of live periods, if any, not a lot of pads. But they came out and looked prepared and fresh. They had fresh legs. They ran around. Thought they tackled really well.
Yeah, for a first preseason game.
For a team that hasn't tackled all year, the tackling was exceptional, I thought, for a first preseason game under any coach or any defensive coordinator. They looked beyond where I thought they would be, and that's really encouraging for Nick's. He had them prepared. He had them prepared in his own way, which is a different way than we're accustomed to. They were prepared for tonight, and it showed.
Yeah, the term mental reps, sometimes we roll our eyes, but they've been doing a lot. I mean, I think what we saw tonight was the product of having a lot of walkthroughs and really emphasizing that structure as opposed to doing it on the practice field, and that's fine if guys retain that information. It looks like they did. I mean, I can't think of anything that was like a major mess up from first team.
Yeah.
I mean, even some efficiency from, Joe Flacco's a veteran, but him checking to a play, Jalen Hurts checked to a play. So it's not just not that they were tough checks to get to, but the fact that two of their biggest plays came from checks, one Jalen Hurts to Dallas Goedert, one Joe Flacco to Quez Watkins on that screen. That's impressive too. It shows that not only do they have the base of the offense down, but the quarterbacks are understanding some of the added layers to it.
Yeah, and I expect Joe Flacco, he's been around forever. He's been a Super Bowl MVP. I expect him to be able to process that stuff. But for Jalen, that's really the biggest thing, is that mental acuity and being able to run the offense. So that was all really encouraging. They didn't get in the end zone with Jalen out there, but I like the way they moved the ball. I just like the way the whole thing looked. It looked encouraging. It looked like, and certainly I don't want to get too carried away. It was there's a lot of work to do, and they didn't get in the end zone, so that's the next thing. There were a couple drops. It wasn't perfect, but considering everything, it was an impressive, an auspicious debut.
I agree with that for both Sirianni and Gannon. And it was funny, Milton Williams was asked about it, and he, about how vanilla the defense was, and it really was. I don't think Gannon wants to show anything.
Yeah.
They were crisp, but there wasn't a lot of we've seen so many different looks from them in practice.
Yeah.
And we didn't see any of them
No.
on the field today, and I think that was purposeful. He's not going to put extra, and I think Sirianni is going to do that to a certain extent too, which they should. That's what they have in their back pocket is that, no one's ever seen a Nick Sirianni offense. No one's ever seen a Jonathan Gannon defense. The teams are going to have some sort of idea, but they're not going to know the full thing, and why would the Eagles give that away?
Yeah, you're right. So you come out and you focus on basics and fundamentals, and and tackling and blocking and throwing and catching, just real fundamental stuff. You run it vanilla, and you go out there. And again, the Steelers are doing the same thing. Really, most teams do that. And they considering what they were running on both sides of the ball, they responded really well. I don't know if I've ever seen a team tackle that well. Was there a missed tackle with the ones or twos? I don't think there was.
I mean, it would have been, I don't know if it was a missed tackle. Alex Singleton had the one down by. Oh, I guess that was the third team.
That was with the threes.
But he's a one who played a lot because he's been
right. He was probably gassed at that point. He probably played 50
he
reps.
Played a lot, and that would have been a tough tackle.
Yeah, I mean the one Jaquette was with the twos when he lost track of Deontay Johnson, but that's he caught 88 balls last year going up against a long shot, a extreme roster long shot. So. Yeah. It's going to happen. I mean, Michael Jaquette, and he came back and made a couple okay plays. But really, when you look at the guys who are going to be playing during the regular season, they all acquitted themselves well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. What did you think of Jalen Hurts' performance? I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't perfect, but I think you leave that game thinking, okay, that's something to build on.
Yeah, and he missed Quez, and we talked to Quez and Jalen about that. I didn't see Quez get grabbed. I guess he got held back.
It slowed him down a little bit.
Yeah,
it wasn't like he didn't get mauled out there.
I love Jalen. He's like, we'll hit that. We'll hit that next. He's like so confident.
They were close. Quez did his job. He separated, and there was pressure. So I think it was like. I think Jalen Hurts missed the throw, but I also think it wasn't a super easy throw. He had to try to deliver it, and they're in the end zone.
Can't get sacked.
So he's trying to get rid of the ball. It's a fine line, as our old friend used to say.
Don't do it. That's almost like a surrogate fine.
I'm allowed to say that. I'm allowed to.
That's like a signature quote from a guy who we can't name. So no, it's not. It's not over the line, but it's close.
I know.
It's pushing the boundaries.
It's a fine line, like I said.
It is. But you know what I liked about Jalen, in all seriousness, he ran the offense. There were times he could have run and probably gotten 6, 7, 8 yards, but he was really focused on throwing the ball and running the play the way it was supposed to be run. And that's what he needs. That's where he needs to grow. We all know he can take off and run, and he's got that. In his proverbial back pocket. He can do that anytime he wants if that's what the play requires. But he was out there focused on reading the defense and throwing the ball, getting it to the open guy. And I thought he did that really, every throw. I mean, Rager, did he underthrow it a tad? The one on the first drive on the right sideline, maybe a little bit, but Rager's got to catch that ball. You got to catch a drop, and then obviously the Ertz one, which would have been a big play, that was a bad drop. So that's why you don't look at the stats. I mean, he played 2 series. I thought he showed poise. I thought he made good decisions. He was careful with the ball. He threw it away the one time he was getting pressured.
He took one. We're like really looking at everything here because he played so little, but there was one where I thought he threw it away late and he took an unnecessary hit.
Yeah, the one who he was rolling out to his right. Yeah, he probably threw it, but
we're nitpicking here.
He's so just wired to try to make a play. He did wait a second too long, but especially in a preseason game, just.
And we're looking at what did he play, 15 snaps or something? So we're really breaking them all down, but.
Yeah, I think he played less than that.
Maybe. I was impressed though. I thought you can kind of just see him have command of the offense. I thought he was poised. Thought he made some good decisions.
And let's talk about the Goddard throw. I mean, that was a check.
The Goddard. Yeah, the check is as impressive as the throw.
Right.
Yeah, and that was a big play. And he's
huge plays, like 33 yards. Or something.
Yeah, and he had Ertz on another play. He's been hitting these tight ends a lot in practice. That carried over. It's
And
funny.
why wouldn't you? They're all. I mean, they can all catch
Yeah,
the
they're
ball.
good. And, at receiver, he's without his best receiver. So he's been really relying.
No, Quez was out there.
Yeah, that's true. He's been relying on his tight ends, and it's not uncommon for rookies or young quarterbacks to do that. And I think he will. This is off topic, but if Zach Ertz is here, he's going to play. They opened this game in 12 personnel.
Yeah, how about that?
After, all offseason of us thinking Zach wasn't going to be here. And even, Nick Sirianni a few weeks ago said that having Zach here won't force him in the 12. And they opened the very first snap of the very first game, and they're in 12 personnel.
Damo was fired up. Yes, yes.
But they're going to have to, especially until Devontae Smith gets back.
And also, if you're vanilla, that's what's better than just throwing it to the tight end? I mean, you can't get any more vanilla than that.
But Goddard, a little bit of yak after that one play. He can move. I think he's going to be fun to watch this year.
They got some tight ends. And, we'll talk about Tyree Jackson in a little bit. But, even Jack Stahl, we've seen him catch the ball.
He's come on a little bit
in
the last week or so of camp.
Yeah. He's probably a practice squad type guy. We know what Richard Rodgers can do. So it's a good group of tight ends. I wouldn't say it's a good group of wide receivers yet. So what are you going to do? You're the quarterback. You're going to get us the tight ends.
Yeah. Overall, pretty impressed by Jalen.
Yeah, and I just like that he had one run for 4 yards. It was on a 3rd and 6. There was nothing there. He just tucked it down, and that was his best chance to get the first down was to run it. But that was his only run. That was his only scramble.
And we didn't even see them show it, which was on purpose.
Yeah,
because we've seen a lot more in practice, and I'd expect that to be a pretty big part of their offense once the games matter.
Yeah, I like what I saw. It was a good way to start.
Yep.
Score big with the AAA Eagles MVP membership, along with the superb roadside assistance and discounts you've come to expect from AAA. Get exclusive Eagles-related AAA perks. For all the details, visit AAA.com/Eagles.
All right, Rube. Stock up, stock down.
Let's go.
Let's just go through my list of guys, and we'll kind of give.
And I'll guess whether they're up or down.
I think you'll know.
Nick Mullins.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think there's much questioning some of these. Let's start with Quez.
Questions.
Quez.
There's not much questions.
Quez nearly had 2 long touchdowns in this game,
Yeah.
and the one. Look, that screen pass is going to be a part of this offense. He caught it he was in the slot, but the receiver screens and all screens, but really the receiver screens, getting the ball. And I feel like I've mentioned this 1,000 times this summer already, but get the ball to the player, let him make plays, and he took off.
Yeah, and he is fast.
Yeah.
We've been talking about him. I just, even in the brief time he played at the end of last year, you could see there was something there, and he's built on that, and he separates, and he's just got it. He's just got something, and he's got good hands too, and he's got soft hands, and he catches the ball. But seeing him separate from, I think it was Mike Hilton, it was like it's almost like you don't even care that they didn't connect on the play because it was
on the missed one.
Yeah, on the one they missed from the two, just because he's just exploding. Yeah, on the screen, and I think part of that is you have your offensive line back.
And there were some nice blocks on the perimeter. It was
Richard Rodgers had a great block.
Rodgers had a block, and Jalen Reagor had a block too on the outside.
Yeah, Richard Rodgers and the kid Quez said he had, he hesitated a moment to let the blocks, that's a veteran move.
Mm-hmm.
That's really understanding the guys you're playing with, and
he said that was the first time he ran that play from the slot. So to have that patience.
Yeah.
In that moment. And it was funny. I asked him once Joe Flacco checked that play, did you know I had a chance? He's like, I just started to smile. Knew right away.
Yeah. What kind of role do you see from him?
Got to be out there.
He has to be, right?
Got to be out there. We'll see how it shakes out because Devontae's got to be out there. I think Rager's got to be out there. At least you got to try. You got to give him every opportunity to be out there. The odd man out might be Greg Ward.
And Fulgham,
yeah. I think Quez has got to play, and I think he deserves more first-team reps. I think he deserves a shot to at least fight for a starting gig, and if that pushes Reagor into the slot, so be it. I actually think that's where he makes more sense in the slot because he can do a lot of the things we saw from Quez on that play. I mean,
Right.
you can get the ball in his. He's explosive too.
Yeah, and he made a couple plays tonight, and he had the drop. He bounced back from that. You need to see consistency from him, but I mean, I think he's their third best receiver. I think that's pretty clear. I mean, unless something changes.
Yeah, and you always have Greg Ward.
Yeah, and there'll be times where you want that in the slot.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they'll kind of rotate packages for these guys and get them involved. Because he deserves to be in that mix. And I give him a lot of credit, too. You can tell how hard he worked this offseason. Everyone talks about how hard they work, and sometimes they do and it doesn't show. But the things he's told us he worked on are all showing up. He mentioned that he didn't want to be viewed as just a speed guy. So he went this offseason and learned how to basically harness his speed, and almost like disguising it.
Right.
And you can see that. You can see that, and you can see his route running especially. I mean, he's a much better route runner.
And that was a knock on him coming out, was he was just a deep threat.
Yeah. And even if that's all he was, that's not a bad thing. The guy ran a 4.35, so,
Yeah.
I mean, he can fly. And there would probably be a place for him on a roster if that's all he did, but he's becoming a much more well-rounded receiver, and it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, he talked after the game tonight about how he's learning to, kind of try to trick the defense into thinking he's going deep, and then, use that deception for underneath, and mid-range plays, which he needs to do. I mean, you can't. One thing Deshaun was maybe the greatest deep threat ever, but he really cultivated the mid-range game, and sometimes. If you get it on the move, they become big plays.
Yeah.
So
and it's like you use your fastball to set up your change. That you should like that.
Yeah,
Jim Schwartz would be proud.
That was
of
like a Jim Schwartzism.
Yeah, but I mean that's his point. Is he said
Dave McNally? He'd start talking about Dave McNally.
That's the one thing, guys, and I really understood it better tonight when you see it in action a little bit. But he said, make my 75 look like 100. Make it look like I'm going full speed and I'm not, and I can shift. I can come back on a hitch, or I can run it out because I'm not going 100. And that's an impressive thing for a second-year guy to get.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? I mean, he was a 6th-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the Eagles have had 2 wide receivers drafted in the 6th round who've caught a pass, and neither one caught more than 2. I mean, it's like –
Wasn't Hank Baskett a 6th?
No, Hank Baskett was undrafted.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, Hank Baskett was undrafted.
Marvin McNutt
out of New Mexico State. It was like Jeff Seidner and Brandon Gibson. Well, Brandon Gibson had caught some passes for the Rams. He actually had a nice career.
Yeah.
But the last wide receiver the Eagles drafted in the 6th round or later to really do anything, like to have more than 115 yards.
For a second, I couldn't think of who you were going, but yeah.
In his career as an Eagle, drafted by the Eagles, was Tony Woodruff in the early 80s. Okay. And before that, Harold Carmichael.
Yeah.
So, it's really, really rare for a late-round wide receiver to make an impact. I mean, with this team, it's rare for an early-round wide receiver to make an impact. Late-round receivers, they just don't do it because if you have that skill set, you're going to get drafted in the that speed.
Yeah. I mean, I think the last few drafts have been so deep at receiver that I think we're going to see a few of these guys squeak through.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think in a normal year he might have been a 4th-round pick, but he just gets bumped down. Fun player to watch, and a smart kid.
Yeah,
really gets. He really gets it.
He gets it. Next one, and this guy gets it too. Another young player, Milton Williams, played. Did he play inside at all tonight?
I didn't see him play a rep inside.
Yeah, neither did I. I'll have to look at that breakdown. But he played end, and he was wrecking shop out there.
I like that.
He really was.
Yeah.
He's a strong, powerful kid, but we're seeing – I was really not skeptical, but I really wondered if his raw athleticism would shine. Just because sometimes with a rookie it takes a little while and they're learning, but he's been so much smarter than I expected. And that's not – I didn't have any real expectations, but for a young kid to come in and pick it up this quick and learn 2 positions – we're seeing the athleticism play out, and doesn't always happen.
Yeah, and I think Jonathan Gannon's thing with Milton Williams is I'm just going to keep giving him stuff, and if he keeps absorbing it and processing it and handling it, I'll just keep giving him more. It's unusual to give a rookie 2 positions, and I mean I think he might be more of an outside player than an inside player.
Yeah, and I'm coming around on that because I was kind of steadfast that
He's got the frame of a tackle.
Yeah, and I just think the way the NFL has gone in recent years, you're better off getting a guy like that. If you get a premier interior pass rusher who can get to the quarterback in 2 seconds as opposed to taking the long way, it's almost like a more in the now type of deal. And the athletic comp to him was Aaron Donald. Not saying he's going to be that type of player, but you can see what that athleticism can do inside. So I like that. But his strength against tackles outside is unreal to watch. On that T.Y. Mcgill sack, T.Y. just got there first because Milton would have gotten him. And actually, he was right. Milton said the guard left T.Y. to help, and that's true. And then T.Y. got the sack. But Milton probably would have gotten there.
Yeah, it's fun to watch him. He's so powerful, and he just moves people. He even knocked the ball down late in the game, and just got his hands up, which is something these guys are taught, that if you're out of the play, get your hands up and maybe knock a ball down. And he did it. I was impressed with him, and I was also impressed with him when he was not impressed with himself. He said, I made a lot of mistakes. I have a lot of work to do, and a kid like that who plays. He really flashed tonight, I thought, but his standards are so high, his expectations of himself, and you like to hear that. It wasn't good enough for him, so that's always a good sign.
Yeah. Next one on the stock up list, Jake Elliott, 47, 47, 50, made them all.
And my stat is this. This could be Rube knows.
Okay.
All last year, Jake Elliott only made 2 field goals of 47 or more yards. In the first half tonight, he made 3.
Ball was flying. It was hot out there.
Yeah, I would think the heavy air would knock the ball down.
51% humidity at kickoff. It dropped a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know what the dew point was. I didn't get it.
I thought, that was encouraging because after last year, he was terrible. And he said after the game it hurt him to not have preseason, that you feel better going to the season. So I don't know if that's you're kicking a football through goalposts. It's hard to imagine. But he did say that. He allowed that. And they're stuck with him. I don't know, stuck because he potentially is a very good kicker. They can't make any moves. They don't have another kicker here. His salary's too big. You can't cut him. Have dead money on your kicker. It was a good night for him. It was good to see. Those are tough kicks,
and especially with a new holder.
Yeah,
Aaron Siposs, the new punter, is a new holder. So
he was asked about having a new special teams coach. He's like, it doesn't matter.
I kicked the football.
I'm off on my own anyway. I don't talk to anybody.
Tyree Jackson.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great game for him. I think he was targeted 5 times. There was the one miscommunication with him and Nick Mullins. It was an interception. I don't know what happened there. But he still made 2 impressive catches, especially it was a 19-yarder from Joe Flacco, who they're going to become best buddies after this summer.
He's looking for him every snap.
Yeah.
And he also had a 9-yarder. He had a 13 and a 19. And the 19 was a nice play because it wasn't a routine
he got up
catch.
There.
He got up
No
there.
one else is getting that ball.
No. Well, maybe like Embiid. But it was, he went up and got it. And then he got some yards. And he's physical, and he finishes the play.
They're going to have to keep him on the roster.
If there's yards there, he gets them. And then he had a 9-yarder that was negated by a penalty by Richard Rodgers, because Richard Rodgers is like, this guy keeps catching these passes. I'm getting cut.
So you think Richard Rodgers threw it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was an intentional penalty to negate the play to make his stats worse so he would make the team.
I like that. I like the way you're conspiracy thinking.
It was obvious. But, this is a kid. He didn't start playing tight end until November.
Yeah.
And this is his first game ever at a new position, and he looked comfortable. He had fewer drops than Zach Ertz. I know that.
Yeah, you wrote a good story about him if you want to check that out.
So I was in an interview with Jackson, I don't know, a week ago, and usually like we write whoever we interview, like, but
I was there, but I just didn't get my recorder in.
Whatever reason, so I sent him the audio, and he wrote a really good story about the kid. But I forgot that I didn't write it. So after his 19-yard catch, I was like, I'm going to tweet out my story about Tyree Jackson. I tweeted out. I said, here's a story I wrote last week about it. And he was like, Rube, I wrote that story. You didn't write it. I was trying to take the bow for that one.
Yeah, that's all right. Next one, T.Y. Mcgill.
Somebody tweeted me, said it was the best story you ever wrote, Rube.
That was me. T.Y. Mcgill had a sack. He's been disruptive all camp. I don't know if there's a spot for him. He's a 28-year-old journeyman.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, you feel bad for him because he's doing everything he can to make this roster. And he should have been on the roster last year. The Eagles manipulated the rules and elevated him like 6 times.
Yeah. But he got a game check for each time he got elevated. So he made a few bucks. But I could see that happening again. You keep him around.
I mean, if he doesn't end up somewhere else, he'll be on this practice squad, and they'll use him at times.
Sure. Well, yeah, why not? If somebody gets hurt, you have he's not a kid, but he's
28.
He's had a good camp.
Very good camp. He's making plays every day.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we'll talk about some of the other guys. The deeper defensive linemen haven't been playing very well. Right. So, having a guy like that around you'll keep him for sure.
Yeah.
The last guy having the list was Elijah Riley. Had that nice interception, jumped the pass. He's a dark horse to make this team because he's really almost on every core special team group that I've seen in practice. I don't know who he'd make it over. I don't know how that would work. Maybe Andrew Adams would be like a Najee Good. We'll sign you in another week if we need you.
Right.
But Riley's an interesting guy, and I think he's like if you were a gambler and you looked at the odds, I'd like his odds.
Yeah, it's a good bet, and he certainly helped himself tonight with the takeaway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Stock down. Didn't play tonight, John Hightower, but I put him on there because you have a guy like Quez Watkins and even Jalen Reagor out here making plays. And it's not John Hightower's fault he's hurt, but he's missing time. And his roster spot is evaporating.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I don't think he's had a great camp. I don't think any
up and down. Very inconsistent.
I don't think any of the receivers have had a great camp other than Quez, really.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, so I think right now Hightower's on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I didn't have him on my latest.
You could get him on the practice squad.
Yeah, I think so. And this is the time of year where I think a lot of people think, you're not going to get this guy through. I think a guy like Hightower, you'd probably get through.
And if you don't,
that's the thing. Yeah, I was talking to someone about the offensive linemen because they actually do have some decent depth there, and they're probably going to have to expose a couple of those guys to waivers. But they have so many in a way that, like, if you lose one of them, not that you want to lose them, but you're deep enough that you're going to get some through and you're going to be okay. Next one, Marlon Tuipulotu, the 6th-round pick, so the expectations are tempered, but I thought he kind of got manhandled out there tonight.
He got pushed around a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a continuation of what I've seen in camp, and it's disappointing in a way because he was a guy some people thought would be like a 4th-round pick. The Eagles got in the 6th. You thought, okay, maybe they got a steal here, but it's been a rough camp for him. Yeah,
I would agree with that. Raw prospect, I would think they'd probably want to keep him around as a draft pick. Try to get him stronger. Get him, try to work on his technique, get him stronger. We'll see what Tracy Rocker can do with him. But, yeah, he's earmarked for the practice squad.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Zach Mcpherson, who we're both big fans of. We like what he does. But he has been very aggressive in training camp. And we even talked to him the one day about, making sure you don't
go over the line.
Yeah, I didn't want to say fine line, but that's kind of where we're going. And today he got called for defensive pass interference. It was a good call. I thought you didn't like it.
I didn't like it.
I thought it was a fair call. He grabbed the guy's shoulder pad as he went by, and they're going to call it every time, especially in the end zone where that's all you see.
I didn't see any contact.
No, it was a penalty, and he got called for it, and he'll learn from it, hopefully.
Yeah, and he has had a good camp. There were a couple other plays I'm sure he'd like to have back. He was around the ball a little bit.
Yeah.
It wasn't a disaster for him, but yeah, certainly that penalty is something he's going to learn from.
Yeah, it's a as far as the stock downs go, it's not like it's not a roller coaster plummet. It's like we're just going down a little low right now.
Okay, got it. So it's the least down of the stock.
Exactly.
downs.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's kind of just like a little.
Yeah. Next one's a pretty steep one. Nick Mullins.
Let me guess.
Yeah, rough. I mean, it's funny. We started this training camp, and this is a good lesson to not go crazy over a couple practices. Because early on, you're like, man, why'd they even sign Joe Flacco? They have Nick Mullins. And now you're like, oh, that's why they have Joe Flacco, because Nick Mullins had a rough night.
Yeah, and you know what's really alarming is that he's a guy that started. How many games did he start in the NFL? 16 or 18?
Yeah, quite a few.
And he's going up against threes. I mean, he started 8 games
With
last
threes,
year.
But yeah.
Sorry?
With threes.
With threes, but still, if you're an NFL starting quarterback going up against, it's kind of like Haskins. He hasn't had a good career, but this kid was a first-round pick. He was a 15th pick in the draft a few years ago for Washington, and he's going up against the Eagles threes. He's going to look good. Nick Mullins did not, and that was 2 interceptions.
The second one was bad.
Terrible. And the first one was apparently a miscommunication, but is his roster spot in jeopardy? I kind of think it is.
Oh, yeah. I don't think he's on it.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't think anyone's claiming him.
I mean, they don't have another quarterback in camp, so if you want to get somebody in here soon to learn this offense, if he's not going to be your 3.
Well, I think he'll be your 3, but I think he'll be it from the practice squad.
Could be, or I mean,
no one signed him.
No, I understand, but I mean, and there's not a lot out there. But I'd almost rather have like a young prospect, like raw.
Well, I think they view Nick Mullins. He's not like an old guy. He's relatively young.
He's not an old guy.
And I think they look at him as
guy.
like maybe we can get him to a point where we feel comfortable with him as the backup.
I don't think it's going to ever happen.
Okay. I'm still. That's still in the realm of possibility for me.
Okay.
And the last one was Rashad Smith, who. Yeah, it was a rough game.
Not a good performance.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't want to pick on him too much. It's just.
Well, I don't want to pick on him, but we talked about how organized, efficient, disciplined, smart, and then he didn't have a good game beyond the penalty, but a late hit personal foul.
Yeah,
just can't have that.
Yeah, and he missed plays, and the other linebackers I thought were making some plays. Sean Bradley was pretty active. I'm talking about the deeper guys. Sean Bradley was active.
Yeah.
Even Patrick Johnson.
He was up and down, but
he made some plays.
He did make some plays.
I
thought Sean Bradley showed up a little bit.
Yeah.
I liked the way he was really active. That was good for him.
Yep.
It's been a year full of uncertainty, but one thing is certain. Independence Blue Cross can help you make the healthcare decisions that are right for you. Choose coverage you can count on with the region's strongest network, Independence Blue Cross. Learn more at ibx.com.
This is always a weird time of year because the Eagles are playing games now, but we're still in training camp. They're going to practice Saturday, Sunday by themselves, Monday, Tuesday against the Patriots. I'm really looking forward to those practices with the Patriots just to see how this rookie head coach and his team go up against one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how Belichick and Nick Sirianni are going to be on the same field. The Patriots usually practice like 2 hours and 15 minutes. So, are they going to practice by themselves for the last hour? It's really interesting. Or are the Eagles just going to sit down and watch the last hour?
That'd be great.
It's interesting. I would think they'll find some kind of compromise, but they have different philosophies, certainly, of coaching, which makes the fact that they're doing joint practices curious.
Oh, the Patriots will do it with anyone.
They love it. Belichick loves it. They do twice a year, every year. Even before it became a thing that everyone is doing. Now, this is the first time ever the Eagles have had 2 sets of them. So this is the wave of the future, and this is preseasons are going to get shorter and shorter and shorter, and joint practices are going to get more and more prevalent. So I'm really looking forward to it. We were up in Foxborough quite a number of years ago for joint practices at their stadium, which out of all the things I remember is murder leg, Carrie Spears, kicking field goal, missing field goals by 70 yards. We were sitting on a hill behind one of the goalposts or the little media area, and I was afraid for my life. I mean, it was scary, but
Safest place was between the uprights.
exactly. So, but yeah, looking forward to it, and it'll be good work for especially these young guys going against guys they don't know and haven't seen.
Yeah. Anything you after this game that you want to like look at the next week of practice for specifically?
I don't know about the next week of practice. I would have liked to see more from the running backs, and they didn't do much. Miles obviously didn't play.
Huntley showed his burst.
He did show his burst. I thought Kenny Gainwell. I mean, he didn't have a lot of opportunities.
What'd you make of Miles not playing? By the way,
it was curious.
He's the only guy that didn't play.
Yeah, it was
healthy.
It was kind of curious. It was kind of unusual, and Nick said, we just want to get him healthy, keep him healthy, and we know what he can do, and we're excited about him. I don't think he's had a particularly good. Well, especially I want to see him catching the ball. I mean, I would have liked to see him out there for a couple series with Jalen catching the ball. They need to work together. He hasn't caught it well at all this summer, so I was disappointed with that. I was disappointed that at one point. I mean, when Jalen was playing, the pass-run ratio was 9-1. The one carry was Jordan Howard, who I just don't need to see at this point. I want to see Kerryon Johnson. I want to see Jason Huntley. And
I thought that was weird, by the way. Howard was out there first.
Yeah. I want to see Gainwell, and I want to see Gainwell. I want to see Kerryon Johnson. And I don't want to see Boston Scott, Jordan Howard. I want to see Miles Sanders catching the ball and the other guys running the ball. That was strange. I wonder if they just really like him. I wonder if he's experienced. He's
Jordan Howard. Yeah, I don't know.
He's a different kind of back. We were talking in the green room. No, in the press box. I don't know why I said green room. We were talking in the press box about Kerryon Johnson. He's had an okay camp. I don't think he's distinguished himself really. I don't think he's done anything special. I don't think he's a roster lock.
Oh no.
I think Huntley has outplayed him. But
I couldn't. It's funny. The Eagles, every team has to put out their depth chart. It's unofficial, and I thought it was really strange that they had Jordan Howard listed ahead of Boston Scott because everything we've seen at practice has not been that. I mean, Boston's the only other guy who's gotten first team reps, and then they come out for the preseason, and Jordan Howard's out there on the first series. Maybe there's something there. Maybe.
No, I mean he hasn't played with the ones, and Boston Scott has more catches with the ones than anybody. Mm-hmm. With anybody, receivers, tight ends, anybody. So, I mean, Boston Scott to me is pretty clearly the number 2 back right now.
But maybe I'm just saying.
Maybe they're trying to showcase Jordan Howard. I don't know. Like nobody's going to trade for him.
I mean, I'm thinking maybe it just means he has a better shot to make this team than I thought.
It's possible. They do seem to like him, and I thought he had a really good first week. I thought he came back to earth a little bit, but he's okay. I mean, I think he can still play. When you look at and he's not old. I mean, he's 26.
Yeah.
But when you look at where this team is and where this franchise is, I want Kenny Gainwell and Miles Sanders to be the main backs. And if you have Jordan Howard, he's the kind of guy that you can't just give him like 4 carries. He's a guy that is at his best when he has like 17 for 89, and it just doesn't fit where they are as a team.
Yeah, I get it. I guess the only thought I have is like, what if Miles misses time, which he has, and you need someone to kind of take over for a game? Would you feel more comfortable with Jordan Howard doing that, or with Boston Scott or Kenny Gainwell?
Probably Kenny Gainwell, and here's why. I think throwing to the backs is going to be such a big part of this offense, and Jordan Howard doesn't catch the ball.
I mean, a little bit.
Well, he's got like 40 catches in his career, and I mean he's worked on it. I think he's gotten a little better maybe at it. We've seen him catch a few passes, but in Gainwell, we saw tonight, he catches the ball well, and he runs with the ball after the catch. He's a very natural pass catcher as a running back. And look, he had 2 carries, I think. Was he, 2 for 16 or something? Which he looked good when he was out there. But I just don't know if there's going to be those 17, 18, 19 carry games by anybody.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, though.
Yeah, it is. October 14th, Thursday Night Football. John Runyan and Trey Thomas go into the Eagles Hall of Fame. I like that they're doing it together. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I like that there's certain players that kind of, Wes and Andre, Clyde and Seth. There's certain players that, Michael Jacquet and Kayvon Seymour. There's certain guys that just kind of go together and should go in together. So, Trey was drafted in '98. Runyan's first year, he was 2000, and then they basically played right tackle and left tackle together for a decade.
Yeah.
And it was
9 years.
And it was a decade that the Eagles made the playoffs almost every year. I think those two guys, I think they've, other than Doak and David Akers, I think they've played the most playoff games in Eagles history.
Okay.
I think Akers is first and Doak is second, and then they're probably tied. I mean, because they didn't go to the playoffs in '98 or '99. Trey's first 2 years. Yeah, different kind of players. Trey was a draft pick. Runyan was a great free agent signing. Really different personalities.
Different play styles, too.
Different play styles. But, I mean, Trey was at his best. I mean, he was better than John Runyan. As good as John Runyan was. Yeah. Trey Thomas was he only went to 2 Pro Bowls, but he was
3.
Was it 3?
3.
Yeah. He was so good. Run blocking and pass blocking, and they were.
Yeah, I mean, it was when you have a left tackle and a right tackle that's steady, that helps so much. So much.
Yeah, and I think the Eagles will have that with Dillard and Danny Watkins for the next. But yeah, I'm happy for those guys. And the Eagles Hall of Fame was dormant for a long, long time.
Yeah,
and
it's cool that Jeff Lurie.
Yeah. It's a really cool thing because, so many teams have that, and the fans love it. So, yeah, it's great for them. That'll be exciting Thursday night.
Yeah, it'll be exciting for me once some of the guys I've covered start to go in. I'm serious. I know Trey.
Yeah, and
I've met John a few times, but I never covered them. So, it'll be cool. Like once the
who.
The Zach Ertzes and Fletcher Coxes.
Yeah. Well, how many guys on the current team do you think will be in the Eagles Hall of Fame?
Oh, that's good. Ertz, Kelsey, Fletch, BG. And we'll see about some of the others. But
Lane, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I think those 4 are locks, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that. They should just put, all the guys from the set. They should just put the 17 team in as a team.
Nah.
Yeah, I like that. You don't like that stuff?
That means you're putting Will Beatty in the Eagles Hall of Fame. And Donnell Ellerbe.
Donnell Ellerbe deserves it. No, I mean, they don't. You put the team in. It doesn't mean you put Donnell Ellerbe and Will Beatty in individually.
I bet Will Beatty will show up.
I would show up if I was Will Beatty. All right.
That's it? We did enough?
Let's just shut up now.
All right. We'll be back with you guys in, I don't know, later.
Good day or two.
In a day or two. Please rate, subscribe wherever you get the pods. If you're watching on YouTube, do the same thing there. Like, subscribe.
Oh, the Eagles lost. We didn't mention that, did we?
I did in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know the score. What was the score?
I really have. Oh, I have a game book in front of me. It was 24-16.
How about that?
Yeah, they're driving, and Nick Mullins had a chance to tie the 2-point conversion.
You know what's the good thing, though? And I forgot about this until...
Oh, the new rule.
New rule is that no overtime. So either way, we were getting out of there.
Yeah, so you could... Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.